Hey, Francine, happy New Year, happy 2021. This is officially my first show. If you don't know me, I'm Francine Walker. Welcome to Life and Style with Francine. We have an exciting show planned today. Very excited about my guest that is not a stranger to Life and Style with Francine. In fact, I interviewed Nancy, I think it was approximately maybe in the summer.
Yes, it was around June.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she is a powerhouse. She has a ton of experience, a ton of accolades. I'll let her talk a little bit more about it. She's an author. Fire Your Job. Is that correct? Is that the title, Nancy?
Yes, it is.
She is the founder and managing director of the Detroit Business Hub Group. We're going to talk about some changes, some really important changes that have happened in the last 6 months. So before we get any further, please join me in welcoming Nancy O'Neill to the show. Hey, Nancy.
Hi, Francine. Thank you so much for having me as a guest on your show and for me being the first guest of the year. That's really an honor and a privilege.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
You brought me out. I was like, okay, I'll get started in the next couple of weeks. That gives me some time to get prepared. But thank you for thinking of me and considering our platform, one, to highlight what we're going to talk about today. We've got an event, a very exciting event coming up. But let's talk a little bit about Detroit Business Hub Group and some of the wonderful changes that have taken place since we last spoke.
Yes. Well, as you know, we have a new website. I don't know if you've had a chance to check it out, but I'm really, really excited about our website because of the unfortunate events of surrounding the coronavirus. There were some government dollars that were available to small businesses. So through the CARES Act, we were able to receive a grant from the SBDC to expand our website, which is something that we really, really needed and we didn't necessarily have all the funds for. So the grant really helped us out financially. It was a huge blessing. So we're very thankful. Instead of having 1 to 2 pages, we actually expanded the website to 5 to 6 pages. So I think it looks great. I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at it.
I have.
To kind of see how it's evolved so far in 1 year.
Yeah. So you've expanded the website. So have you all expanded the services? I noticed on the website that what we're going to talk about later is you now have a lecture series. So is that one of the changes that have taken place in the last 6 months that we've spoken?
It has. And, we are now a membership organization, a 501c6, recognized by the IRS. So that's another huge change that took place. But we've always been membership driven, even before we received the IRS recognition. So these are 2 of our board members that you see in the photo, Melissa Davis and Greg Blackwell. And we've always been membership driven, like I said, and since we started at the beginning of last year. However, the recognition is very nice. So with us being membership driven, most of the time you recruit members from events. Well, when the coronavirus hit, we switched everything from live and in person to virtual. We pivoted to a totally virtual platform. So that did affect the membership. It is more difficult to recruit virtually than online, or virtually than in person, because that person, they usually want that one-on-one in-person connection. But it's still possible. It does happen. We continue to grow.
Yeah.
In the midst of the coronavirus, but it did make it a lot more difficult. So now that there's a vaccine out, we decided very late in the year to start a lecture series. When we were doing the webinars, though, that was still educating the public, and we also offered classes on Teachable. So we're really just transferring what we were already doing online we're going back to the public now. And we're just meeting in very small groups of 30 business owners or less. And, we're going to make sure that we have the social distancing. We're going to have the mask on when we're not eating. So we're still very aware that, there is a virus out there, and we're being socially responsible at the same time.
Wow. Yeah. COVID has, caused us so many, it has prompted us to make so many adjustments, from wearing the mask and the social distancing and a lot of virtual learning and meeting. Yes. It's like, man, I know one thing. I can't wait until we can have that. I miss the social contact.
Yeah, it is important, especially with being in business, because as both of us know, businesses are built around relationships that you develop with other people. And it can be done. You can date online, but it just seems like it goes much smoother when it's in person. You don't really know, like, if you're, I'm just using dating as an example.
Oh, I can
someone online, they can have a totally different super ego. They could actually, have a totally separate family. You don't really know until you actually meet the person in person. Does this person really work here? Do you really have a job? Like, do you really have a business? People can do so many things online now that they can't do face to face. I guess I'm thinking more on the negative side, but yeah, people miss those face to face connections, and I think it is much easier to connect with someone. But you just have to kind of pivot and move with the climate that you have, and do the best that you can with the resources that you have available.
I've heard this, and you said something. There's always an opportunity in the midst of the obstacle.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like you all are doing that by limiting the amount of people in one space, so you do that. And it's like, even with dating, as I can relate as a single woman, it's like, you can do the online thing, and it's like, wow, how do I know? It's like, well, eventually you take that offline, and for distance, right? So
eventually you are going to have to meet in person at some point.
Exactly. So, we're, it sounds like, as we said, finding the opportunity and the obstacle, and you've done that. And let's talk about an opportunity that's coming up next Friday.
Yeah, well, I am so excited about having Shannon Steel as a guest. It's like we made an instant connection. So, I did not know Shannon. She did not know me. I reached out to her. I had heard her speak earlier last year, actually a year ago in January. I reached out to her and I said, hey, this is the name of my group and organization. We're pivoting to working with real estate agents and those in the financial services industry. Would you be interested in speaking to our group and some guests? And she was like, sure. And so I just knew, like, like I said, I reached out to her through Facebook. I didn't have a phone number for her or anything. So I was like, I'm sure I was like, she's going to have an assistant call me. And I'm like, I'm going to have to go through all of this red tape. And so I just have all of these thoughts like running through my head about, first impressions, because I hadn't met her in person before. So she's like, well, you can't come to the hotel because it's because of COVID is not open to the public. She's like, do you want to meet at Starbucks? And I'm like, are you serious? Like, you're really going to meet me in person? I'm like, you don't even know me. So she was like, I said, okay, sure. So she just leaves such an impression on people. I was sitting outside because we couldn't drink or eat coffee indoors, and pulls up in a white Bentley. And I was like, okay, that's definitely her.
Yeah.
Nobody else that I know is going to be pulling up to Starbucks in a Bentley. It comes out of her car with the fur coat on. And I was like, oh, like, here we go. So I just was ready for like all of this, like, ambiance and, she was just so down to earth. And I was like so relieved because, like I said, I didn't really know what to expect, but I was pleasantly surprised at how down to earth and approachable she is.
Yeah.
And we just sat down and had a conversation outside. I would say it was about 40 degrees. She had her fur coat on. I had my little wool coat on.
Yeah.
She pulled up in her Bentley. I pulled up in my Ford Escape. So I was like, so she could be very intimidating, but I was shocked at how down to earth she was. And, you know, we talked about real estate and she told me about her hotels and her experience with COVID. And we sat outside for about an hour. We drank our coffee and I think I had chai tea or something from Starbucks, or green tea. I don't really remember. But we just sat down and had a conversation. So basically she was like, well, how can I help you? And I was like, how can you help me? Are you serious?
Yeah.
So I told her that I was looking for a speaker for our lecture series. At that time, Shannon was the only speaker that I had reached out to at that point. This is at the beginning of November of last year. And then I'm like, well, why don't I turn this into a lecture series? Like, why just have one speaker for the year? So that's when we got the idea to have one speaker a quarter. So depending on what happens with these Corona numbers, we can always switch back virtually. I mean, the nice thing about, you know, having to pivot is that you kind of just move with whatever climate.
You have to, because we don't know, you know.
Yeah, because at any time, like this is, you know, we had originally planned to have this event at Central Kitchen, and we just got news early this week that Governor Whitmer, she's closing the restaurants down to the beginning of February. So that's how we ended up moving to Incubizo. So because of, you know, state mandates and, you know, things going on with the election and a new president, I mean, there's so many variables up in the air. You just pretty much have to be ready to roll at any point.
You got to be flexible. We have to be flexible. That's 2020 taught us that. And be ready to do what is necessary so that we all are safe. You know, I think it's a collective approach.
Absolutely.
Even if there's some people that don't, you know, want to follow the rules. You mentioned that. So who can attend this the event next week, Nancy? You mentioned that it's financial people that you want to start targeting in real estate. Do you have to be in real estate? Do you have to be in the finance industry to attend? Or can anyone, do you think, who can really benefit? Her story.
Isn't it awesome? She's like a kid, high school graduate. She got earned a University of Houston or Texas Houston scholarship to play basketball. She just has a really incredible story.
Yeah,
she came back home after being in college. She's been overseas to do some charitable work. So I love her story. Anyone can attend. Like I said, we have to cap it off at 30.
Okay.
So we only have a few more tickets left available. So I would say if anyone else is interested, please purchase your ticket today because the event is going to sell out shortly. But yeah, she's launching a real estate investment club at the event. So we're really excited about that too. So I would say if a person really isn't interested in real estate, this is not going to be the event that you want to go to.
Sure.
So yeah, they don't have to be in real estate or the financial services industry, but if that's not your thing, then I wouldn't want to waste someone's time. And like I said, tickets are very limited, so I'd rather save that for someone who's really interested in that particular industry.
And how much are tickets?
They are $40 for members and $50 for non-members.
Okay. And it's 2 hours long. There will be, I understand that Beans and Cornbread is catering the event.
Yes, yay. We love Beans and Cornbread.
That's nice.
Yeah, that was another pivot. I was just, panicking. I said, we need to, I had to find a caterer the same day. That was not something that I had anticipated a week out. Like, we paid a deposit, we signed a contract. So, thankfully I'm getting the deposit back. But that was just a little minor setback. And I really didn't
Sure.
know how our members and guests, how they were going to deal with it, because I thought we were going to get some pushback and a few people were going to be asking for refunds, but they were so supportive. And I was like, wow, this is great. Because I think they know, because of the times that we're living in, you know,
You
that
gotta be flexible.
exactly.
Yeah.
So they're just happy that the event is taking place and they're going to be able to meet Shannon. And, you know, we're not as concerned. They're both excellent restaurants. I patronize both of them. So the food isn't really the main attraction. That's why I said, if you're really not interested in real estate, this is probably not the type of event for you to attend.
Yeah, it's really just to, it's a great opportunity to network with like-minded people, right?
Absolutely.
And, you know,
and she said the same thing. You know, she said, it's just so rare that I meet like-minded people. And you would think that she would all the time. But, you know, in Detroit, there are a lot of crabs, if I can say, for lack of a better. So there are people who are very self-seeking and they don't have your best interest at heart. And I think that's one of the things that attracted her to the organization. First of all, you know, I'm a teacher at heart full time, even though I have a real estate and insurance background. So come from a generation of women teachers. So that was the first thing that I think catches a lot of people's attention, is that I spend time with children, because a lot of, you know, business people, the private sector is very attractive because they know you can make more money. It's probably going to be less of a headache, you know, dealing with kids all day. But I enjoy teaching. So second is that we are a 501c6 organization. So we don't really benefit from, you know, it's not like it's a marketing scheme. I mean, it's just a group of us that get together and we network between each other. We do a lot of business between each other. For instance, our insurance agent, he's my on the board. He's my personal insurance agent. Dale Grant, who is a member and accountant, he's my personal accountant. So these are relationships that I formed once I formed the organization. And Shannon, just out of the kindness of her heart, is doing this. She's like, I'm not charging you anything to speak. So I was like, thank you. So it's just an overall great experience. And, you know, we're not like making a ton of money off of these tickets. We're barely covering our expenses, but it's just a service that we want to do that we can offer back to the community. And Shannon's also a philanthropist. So at the end of the day, she wants to find out how many people she can help. And that's how I define true success, is how many people have you helped in your lifetime? So, you know, usually people who have not helped a lot of people aren't as successful, and they're usually not as happy either.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, you know, everyone that will be attending is in for a treat.
Yes.
You also talked about, but we want to, so we've got, it's next Friday at Incabizzo's in Ferndale from 4 to 6. Tickets are $40 for members and $50 for non-members.
Correct.
And they're going because it's only so much room because of COVID. The capacity is limited. Talk a little bit more before we close about membership in the Detroit Business Hub group.
Right. So my experience, I was in sales for 11 years before transitioning to a teaching career in real estate and insurance. And what my experience has been being in both industries is that it's very trade organization driven, meaning that if you want to get ahead in real estate, you just join a board or you join a real estate organization. Well, the networking is great in terms of learning from, you know, having mentors, establishing mentors who have more experience than you, but you can't sell a house to another realtor. So the beauty of Detroit Business Hub Group is that you're working with a group of professionals who can actually share business with each other, and we can share referrals with each other. So we're not at the point of like, you know, LBN or some of the other bigger referral groups, but we do pass referrals to each other. And the only reason why we're not as big as some of those other referral organizations that more people are familiar with, we're just not as old as they are. So, once we get a little bit more experience under our belt, I expect us to grow as much. And those trade organizations are very expensive. I was on a board as a realtor. It was expensive. I also joined a trade organization as an insurance agent. That was very expensive. You're talking like over $300 a year on up. Some of these referral groups are $600 and more a year. Yeah. So it could be very pricey. And if you're not really gaining business from it, then you just kind of chalk it off as a loss, and it's a business loss. You write it off on your taxes. You meet nice people, but it's like in business, you're there to make money.
Yeah.
So what I found, after being in those positions myself, is like, what did I really gain from joining this organization? I met a few nice people. I probably could have done exactly what I did with Shannon and just reached out to them on social media and gotten the same results and saved a whole lot of money.
Sure.
So when I designed DBHG, I wanted to do something that was going to be cost effective, and where people weren't feeling like, business owners weren't feeling like they were being price gouged, and they were actually benefiting from the organization. So we actually started $125 a year for membership, which to me is, like I said, I'm not doing this to get rich, but I really want to help business owners. I struggled for a long time. I felt like I spent a lot of money. I wasted some money on groups and programs that really didn't help me a whole lot in the long run. But like I said, even with the organizations, the key is maintaining and starting these relationships. So I did meet some really good people who I still stay in contact with today, even though I'm not in either one of those businesses directly. And you just continue to fold them into your new network as you reinvent yourself.
Right.
And, eventually you might get a sale out of it, you might not. But the key is that you're forming relationships. Yeah, people, like you said, who are like-minded with you.
Yeah.
So we started 125. We have a corporate membership. There is exclusivity there. So you would be the only business. For example, we have Lake Trust Credit Union. Well, they're the only bank that can be a corporate member. So we only open it up to one industry that can hold that position. So we have corporate membership available. We have individual memberships available. We have coaching calls that we offer. That was something else I did as a realtor. I joined a very expensive coaching program. It was ridiculously, I'm embarrassed to tell you how much money that program cost. Yeah. Well, after being in the program for 1 to 2 months, I found out that my coach, who wasn't, by the way, the person who did the original presentation, is somebody else that they kind of fish you off to or farm you off to. She didn't even have a real estate license. And I'm going, how are you going to help me? You've never even sold a house before. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I was like, this feels, I feel like this is a sham. And so I said, I want my money back. So I contacted the owner, this is a person who, the very charismatic speaker I had originally heard speak. And I said, this isn't working. I'm not seeing real return on my investment. And, frankly, I don't really understand how someone who hasn't been in the industry can help me sell anything.
Sure.
So I kind of I had like a breach of contract, and I ended up paying maybe half the fee or something, but I just knew it's not something I want to stay in. So I've already had the experiences, and I've kind of already, bumped my head up against the wall enough times to know what works in the industries and what doesn't. And you don't have to go out and spend tens of thousands of dollars to join this coaching program or, become a part of this.
Coaches would beg to differ, right?
Oh, of course. I mean, now on Facebook, they're giving these classes away, because I don't know if it's like there's just like too much information out there.
Yeah.
I wanted to do more than just like offer teachable classes, and that's why we have the coaching component and the lecture series, because it's fine to get that information online, but you still want to have that face-to-face connection, or at least somebody that you can just call on the phone and say, hey, I need your advice. I'm working on this business deal. What advice do you have? And so that's something that DBHG can offer that a lot of programs can't offer, because all you're paying for is a course.
Yeah. Now, is DBHG, you teach full time, and this is this organization is obviously a brainchild, or as a result of your experience with other organizations that were not cost effective or delivered what you were putting into it as far as money.
Right.
So is this, is it operating during the day? Are people employed? You know what I mean? How does it, not so much operating during the day.
I got you. I know where you're coming from. Well, as a teacher, I do get off fairly early. I'm done. My day's over at 3:30. So,
okay.
So we have virtual assistants that take calls during the day. We're still growing. I hope we get to the point where we have a full-time executive director and some support staff. We're not there yet. So yeah, we do what we need to do. I make phone calls as soon as I'm done with work. It's like I'm kind of wearing two hats now.
Okay.
And so,
with a stage right now, but it's right now it's in its infant stage. But there's value in the infant stage to anyone that wants to be a member.
Right? Yeah, there is value there, because with Teachable, it's videos. So our videos are pre-recorded. Mike Rizzo is our videographer for most of them. Some of them are they are YouTube video. They're like Zoom meetings, which were recorded. But Mike did a lot of our videos for us. He charged us very little because he's trying to help us out. He's a member as well. So we work very well together. And that was another connection that we made through a mutual contact. So like I said, we're very heavily referral based.
Sure.
We really only want to work with people that we know, like, and trust.
So how many members do you have currently, approximately?
Yeah, right now we have a little less than 20 members. And I said once we get to 20, we were going to put it, we're going to actually put the members on our website. We'll have our membership page. But I already know, I feel like once we hit 50 to 100 members, we're just going to explode. It's just, the sky there's no limits. And the only thing that's really been holding us back so far is we just didn't have the people. It's like, as soon as we have the people, you can
do like those, not membership, not drives, but it's the socialization piece that it's only so much virtual Zoom,
exactly,
appetizer, drink, sitting. I love it. I love the technology, but it's the in person where it's like, you can get 20 to 25 out of one event, a sip and serve, sip and talk, you know what I mean? So so it's like the challenge is being consistent and growing, keeping the faith through this, because this is going to be over sometime in the near future. I'm praying.
I will,
but, fingers crossed and praying, right?
Right, exactly.
So, but it's like, we just keep pushing. Anything else you want to add before we close out?
I am just so excited about this year. I just feel like the sky, I just feel like there's no limits. And I felt like all last year, the bumps and the bruises, it was just a year of preparation for me as a leader, in terms of, getting a thicker skin. I had someone who was a friend of mine for 20 years, who was actually the first person I recruited to join the organization. Well, after 3 months, she started to gossip and tell other members that I didn't know what I was doing. So she was partially correct, because I didn't have a model to follow. Like, I hadn't seen anyone do what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
and she split the organization in half. So at that point, I'm like, well, good grief. After 3 months, I'm like basically starting over. And I'm like, who needs this? Like, this is a headache. So that was a 20-year friendship that was over, if she was ever my true friend. So I found myself constantly restarting over. And I was like, how many times am I going to have to do this? So I kind of feel like now we are more settled, and
the trash took itself out.
And you know what? And the thing is that everybody that like, and trust, that does not mean they're supposed to be a member of your tribe.
Absolutely not. No.
You know what message God was trying to send me through that experience, because it was very hurtful. I was very hurt over that experience. But whatever message it was, hopefully I learned the lesson I was supposed to learn out of that. And, you have to chalk those experiences up as learning lessons, and you just have to move forward.
Yeah.
So if I didn't learn anything else last year, I learned to just keep moving forward. And we pivoted and we reinvented ourselves. And I feel like we are stronger now than, we were at the beginning. And you just continue to grow and evolve as a person, and evolve as a leader too. And I'm a servant leader. I'm not into titles. I don't like titles. I don't even like people giving me accolades, because I feel like the higher I go up, if you can say that, the more humble I become. So I feel like this is a very humbling experience. The lady, when I got a call from Fortune and the other business magazine that's with Fortune, I can't think of the name of it now, but I was like, how did you hear about me? I did not reach out to those people. I have no idea to this day. And she's like, well, I'm looking for an organization that works with business owners in Detroit. And she said, I did some research and your name came up. And I was like, really? Yeah. So at that point, we had only been about 6 months old. So I was like, okay, well, that's good, because we hadn't really put a lot of money into marketing. We were pretty much all grassroots. And I was like, well, I'm glad I didn't quit now, because had I quit after the 3 month, meltdown and catastrophe, I never would have gotten to this point. So the main thing is just continue to persevere and press forward, and and everything will work out.
Congratulations! You should be commended and proud of yourself for your resilience to move past that toxicity.
Like I said, there's a lot of crabs in the
prize, because a lot of times nobody has a book or a blueprint. Even if you are mirroring or looking at other organizations, you can only mirror what they're doing if you're not part of that organization. So you're taking your baby, your baby, and you're doing it the way you know how. You know what I mean? So congratulations for not giving up after those challenges, because they come and go. And you stuck with it, and you're going to keep growing. The thing is, we just have to be consistent and have to trudge through those difficult times, and sometimes difficult people that self-select out of the thing. And you said it best. Everybody that is it's like, do you want supporters or do you want sales? It's like, it's like, do your supporters have to be your family and your friends?
Absolutely. I was so glad you brought that point up, because when she joined the organization, the check bounced. And I think that was a true sign right there. She was never supposed to be there in the first place.
Exactly. So there it is.
You have to go out and chase people when you're doing what you're supposed to do. The people will be attracted to you. You don't have to go out and look for sales. I mean, you do to a certain extent. You do have to market yourself.
Yes, but you got 20 select members.
Yes,
exclusive. It's all about the perception and how we see things and speak things. It's like we have 20 exclusive members right now.
Absolutely. And we are very selective. We would be a lot larger had I think that was a blessing in disguise that did happen, because
Yes.
it's like you kind of see everything from a different lens now. And I'm not saying like not to go out and trust people.
No.
But at the same time, it's like, well, why do you want to be a part of this organization? It's like,
Yeah.
you know, we're not like, we don't have a lot of money to give you. So you just see things from a totally different perspective after something like that happens. And honestly, and I'm done after this, I'm just going to be frank and real. The reason why I wrote Fire Your Job, Be Your Own Boss is because I had been fired from a sales position after making close to 6 figures a year. I was shocked. I was floored. I was very loyal to this company. And it was the last thing that I ever would have expected for to happen. But it did happen. And I put that in the first chapter of my book. So with all of the downsizing and everything else that's happened, I think that people are more open now to starting their own business than they ever were before.
Yeah.
And this is the real catch that really got me. They told me in this sales position I was fired for embezzling funds from my mother's own credit card. And I said, if you thought I was embezzling, I'm like, she's my mother. You've seen her in this office. I said, just pick up the phone and call her. And I mean, it was so ridiculous. But I said, you know what? It was time for me. My time was up. So,
yeah. And would you want to work for an organization that lacked integrity? I mean, that would have just been a continuous hellish experience to work with someone that would accuse you of stealing money from your mother.
Exactly. But it's in writing. I mean, out through the state. And I was just, like I said, I was so undone and unglued. By the way, it was 2 weeks before Christmas. And that taught me something too. And what I go through when I'm writing books is, or, telling people about my experiences, is that it is to help somebody else. And that's why I believe that God puts us in certain positions, because it's not really about you anyway. It's about who you can help as a person. So I'm just out here trying to help as many people as I can. And I've, people in the industry after I left, they've reached out to me. They say, hey, something similar happened to me too. Yeah. I was able to offer membership because I was one of the few people who actually had a second career lined up. My mom always taught me to be able to do more than one thing. So I was almost done with my teaching certificate anyway, but I was still hurt because honestly, I never really knew how and when I was going to use a teaching certificate. It was just something that I had always wanted to do. So you just have to be able to be resilient and bounce back. And, and when life knocks you down, you just have to get back up again and keep going. So,
and that's it.
That's what I've been doing.
Thank you so much. So next week, the 22nd, 4 to 6, Shannon Steel, real estate success, amazing story. Starting a real estate investment club. That's one of the highlights. So 4 to 6 at Incubizos in Ferndale. You can purchase tickets at DBHG. Did I get that right? DBHG?
Yes, ma'am. Detroit Business Hub Group.
Detroit Business Hub Group. Hub. I need a hub. Hubgroup.org. Your book, Fire Your Job, is available on Amazon and other book outlets. Thank you again, Nancy. I will see you on Friday. I'm going to try very hard and make sure that time is available to finally meet you in person.
So excited.
Definitely meet Shannon and maybe have her on the show.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, she sounds like an amazing woman and with an amazing story. And, it's always good to see Black women on the rise, doing their thing despite the obstacles. I know she's had them, especially in a male-dominated industry. That's no small feat.
Absolutely. And that's the other thing. We're a support group too, because these industries are very heavily white male dominated.
Yeah,
And so, Black women in insurance and real estate, we need to support one another. And
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
not just in the trade organizations, but across organizations as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Have a
You are
great
very welcome.
weekend. It is good
You
to
too,
see you.
Francine.
Yep, good to talk to you again, and glad to hear you still plugging along and
I
growing
am.
DBHG the way you see fit. And I'll see you Friday.
Okay, sounds good, Francine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.